And then, as I said, tonight he's here to read to you from An Age of Madness. So please, if you would, put your hands together and welcome to me.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Lori. Lori's very enthusiastic. I appreciate that. Thanks to all of you for coming out tonight. It's New York, so there's lots to do. And both Kathleen and I, I'm sure, are really grateful for you taking the time to come out to hear us when your entertainment options are many and varied. It means a great deal to us. I did an event on Friday night in Williamsburg in Brooklyn, and nobody came. So I am really profoundly grateful to each of you. Really. This book is called, as Lori said, An Age of Madness. The narrator is a 41-year-old psychiatrist named Regina Moss. She's also a wife, mother, and daughter of various other characters that you meet in the course of the book. I am not a wife, mother, or daughter of anybody, so hearing my voice, carrying her words may require a certain suspension of disbelief, but do the best you can. I'm not going to read from the very beginning of the book. I'm going to read from a few pages in where Regina has had a rather testy conversation with her daughter, Anna, and then hopped in the car and gone to work. The Acute Care Center at St. Mary's is Boston's holding tank for public sector mentally ill. Private patients have a choice depending on insurance and inclinations, but indigent chronics, the homeless and underclass and uninsured laborers get referred to ACC. Nobody I know pronounces it by the letters ACC, instead coughing out the name ACC as though they'd just seen something comically disturbing. There's Act 1 and Act 2. With a 20-minute intermission is a little joke that I keep to myself. Act 1 is where patients are brought in for intake, suicide attempts, delusions, manic episodes, a whole slew of profoundly depressed people. Act 2 is where they go once they've stabilized, meaning even if they still think they're the Messiah, they've at least quit trying to walk on water. If we locked up everybody with irrational thoughts, Jesus loves me, professional sports are meaningful, we'd have most of Massachusetts tucked away. I passed through the bank vault door into Act 1. Inside the unit, two thick-set men like football linebackers wait in attitudes of alertness. I faintly recognize them, low-wage help on loan from college psych departments. They get a few dollars and experience for their resumes. We get bodies. The duty nurse is named Becky. I join her at the counter and say hello, and she grunts, but is occupied with Tony. Or rather, Tony is trying to occupy her. She's ignoring him, writing notes in the patient logs while keeping an eye on the day room. Tony offers me a half sneer and leans across the counter to Becky. You know what I'm saying, though? The reason they're afraid is that they know what we represent. People like you and me. Becky scribbles assiduously. It is unlikely in the extreme that she and Tony would represent the same thing in any imaginable incarnation. We understand each other, he adds, which is equally tough to credit. I scan the unit. ACC is shaped like a blocky cross, with the nurses' station occupying the shortest branch. Becky stands at the counter, and behind her is the plexiglass-fronted office, where records and medication are stored. Facing the desk is a set of wire-reinforced glass fire doors leading into the day room, the center of the crowd. Heavy plastic chairs and tables in bright colors, a TV high up on the wall, bookshelves bolted into the floor. Board games and jigsaws, no potted plants. No lighters, no sharps, no keys, no belts. The wards with patients' rooms make up the other arms of the house. In the day room, everything is jittery but normal, 3 out of 10, which is about as relaxed as it gets. We're supposed to have piles of psych aides around, like those linebacker types who met me at the door, and have now preceded me into the room. The preferred patient-staff ratio is 2 to 1, but this is bureaucratic magical thinking. It's after dinner, and the meds are kicking in, so most of the patients have retired to their beds. Roughly 20 are awake and alert enough to be a concern. A half dozen aides mill around, the males standing in pairs like prison wardens, chests puffed out, while the girls, there are only 2, sit with the patients, doing puzzles, playing checkers. It's a pattern. At the nurse's station, I glanced over the day's notes. "How are you tonight, Tony?" He looks at me with his for docs only, unfocused stare. "All right." He shuffles off sideways, greasy black bangs veiling his eyes. The satiny pajama robe he's wearing hangs open, no belt. Into the open space droop his breasts, no bigger than they were a week ago, but far larger than they have any right to be on a scrawny 26-year-old male. He pushes open the day room and calls, "You take care, Becky." "You too, sport." Becky remains unfazed. She could audition for a movie about women bikers. "How's it hanging, Gina?" "Fine." My eyes linger on Tony as he sashays through the fire doors and joins Edna at the puzzle table. "How's he?" "Same. Don't know whether the pills are helping, but we're watching the bathrooms and I've got Anton keeping an eye on him." Anton is one of the linebackers who met me when I arrived. Here he comes now, through the fire doors, up to the nurse's station, big and blocky with a face the color of meat. He licks his lips like he's tasting them. Dr. Moss," he says. "That guy, Tony." Then he stops, bewildered. "Just a kid. Where do they get these guys?" We're supposed to have licensed techs on the ward, but licensed techs are hard to come by. So we fill the gaps with undergrads or grad students if we're lucky. 3 days training and presto, earn beer money and college credit at the same time. He looks so lost I almost feel sorry for him. "I'm sure Becky has filled you in on the patient," I say. The kid's face betrays confusion and disgust. "She said he likes urine." "He drinks it, yes. Other people's, mostly." Anton's eyes, small and deep-set in a soft rectangular face, flick to where Tony is sitting with his arm around sweet, sad Edna, old enough to be his grandma. Together their hands flit across the puzzle pieces. "But he's here because he tied a telephone cord around his neck," I said, and jumped off the banister.